Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Have a bit of a chat about what's going on around the country. We may go into the press, check out what is happening in the newspapers here today also. And then at the end of the video, we'll go into the comment section and check out what is happening there. Quite a few strange comments left on yesterday's video. Not really sure what that is about, but we won't have a look at any of those, just some of the ones that give value to the channel. Now, what's been happening in Spain? What happened over the weekend? Well, as we know, yesterday there was a big rally in the centre of Madrid. The right-wing parties got together to protest about the Prime Minister's plan to give pardons to those independence leaders in Catalonia that have been in prison for the last couple of years. And the rally was held in central Madrid at a place called Colón Square, and that is also the place where you can find the biggest Spanish flag in the world, apparently. And I'm not really sure how many people turned out for the event. I read in one paper that it was 25,000 people according to the National Police. I read in another report that there was something like 125,000 people according to municipal police, and I think I read in El País that there were 60,000 people there. So there was either 25,000 people, 60,000 people, or 125,000 people according to who you want to believe. And obviously there's a huge difference between 25,000 people and 125,000 people, so probably somewhere in the middle, I would say. And will that protest yesterday change the Prime Minister's mind or the government's mind when it comes to these pardons? The Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Calvo, said yesterday that the government plans to go ahead with these pardons, and in 2 or 3 weeks I think they plan to have it done, or at least that's what I think she said. And it's just another example of how people love to protest in this country, hit the streets, complain about things, and we saw a couple of weeks ago, I think, that Spain are world champions when it comes to demonstrations and protests. But the funny thing about it is that not a lot seems to change. So we'll see if the government does go through with these pardons or whether they backtrack on the idea. Now, Spain's participation in the Euro 2020 tournament kicks off today, I believe, and the game is being held in the city of Seville down there in Andalusia in the Cartuja Stadium. I think there's going to be a crowd there, and I don't think there's been too many crowds at football games here in Spain for the last year. The national football team apparently has been vaccinated. We saw last week that there was a bit of a problem with a couple of players testing positive for COVID-19, and that led the government to hastily vaccinate the whole team. And as with most things here in Spain, it was a controversial decision. A lot of people asking the question if whether or not the national football team is a priority group. Are they being vaccinated before other priority groups? And other people around the country asking the question, why weren't they vaccinated before, a month before the tournament, like the Olympic athletes who are on their way to Japan? So we'll see how the freshly vaccinated team performs in the competition. Now, on the topic of vaccines and the vaccination campaign here in Spain, a milestone has been reached, and it is that 25% of the population have completed their COVID vaccinations. And I think, if I remember correctly, that 44% of the population have received at least one dose. So are we on track to get 70% of the population vaccinated by mid-August, which is what the Prime Minister has said on numerous occasions over the last few months? Here we are mid-June with 25% of the population completely vaccinated, so that gives us roughly 2 months to get the other 45% of the population completely vaccinated, so we'll see if we reach that government objective or not. Now, the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sánchez, is today meeting with the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and they're going to talk about a few things apparently up there in Brussels. Joe Biden obviously not coming down here to Spain to meet Pedro Sánchez. They're doing it in Brussels, obviously because there's some type of summit going on there at the moment. And the main topics that will be on the agenda for discussion are apparently Morocco, Spain's relationship with Morocco, or Spain's rocky relationship with Morocco, and also the United States' relationship with that country, and also tariffs. The fact that last year, I think, or maybe the year before, Donald Trump decided to slap a 25% tariff on Spanish goods, things like Spanish wine, olive oil, and other things that are produced in this country that are sold in the United States. And of course, Spain not happy about that. But that tariff was apparently put on those goods in retaliation to a tax that Spain invented a couple of years ago called the Google tax, where they started to tax big companies like Google and other US tech companies. Trump wasn't happy about that, so he slapped the tariff on those goods. And the Moroccan debate is going to be interesting because apparently the United States recognizes Morocco's claims for that Sahara region. Again, it was Donald Trump who backed Morocco on this, and I think Pedro Sánchez's objective here is to get Biden to do the opposite. So we'll see if Mr. Sánchez is successful and can convince Mr. Biden to drop those tariffs and also to change the US stance on that Sahara region. Now, we'll leave the news there and go into the comment section and check out what is happening there. We'll have a look at this one here from Sean, coming to Spain on the 18th of June to go for residency in Castillo de Locubin. Do you still require a PCR test? I've had both my jabs. Yeah, Sean, thanks for the comment, and I think it depends where you are coming from. If you're coming from the UK, you only have to fill in a form. I don't think you need any record of vaccination or a negative PCR test. If you are coming from the United States and you have completed your vaccinations 14 days prior to travel, you need record of that, and if you don't have that completed, a negative PCR test will suffice. So good luck with your residency in Castillo de Locubin. To be honest, I had never heard of that place before I saw it in that comment, but I looked it up on Google and apparently it's in Jaén, down there in Andalusia. So good luck with that and enjoy that part of Spain, one of the lesser known parts of Spain, Jaén, but it is a very nice part of the country in my opinion. One here from Taz: is €1,000 per month really enough to live in Spain? Would you need to share a home with others if living on this amount? I want to go to Spain on the non-lucrative visa and you need about €26,000 in the bank for 1 year and about €52,000 for 2-year renewals. Is life that much more expensive for expats? The required private health insurance seems quite cheap, unlike here in the US. I looked at long-term rentals in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and these look pretty affordable, even right on the beach. Great video. Hasta luego. Yeah, Taz, thanks for the comment. €1,000 a month is not a lot of money here in Spain, but some people can get by on that amount. Especially, as I said yesterday, if you're not living in one of the more expensive parts of the country, for example, places like Madrid, Barcelona, Bilbao, Valencia, some of the more expensive cities. But if you go to live in a smaller city, a town, a village, you can find quite cheap accommodation. In fact, I've seen whole flats in some parts of the country for less than €300 a month. So it is possible, but it depends where you are and what your spending habits are. And those requirements that you mentioned there, those amounts of money, are basically in place because the Spanish government doesn't want people to become a burden on the system, and that's why they ask for those requirements, but it's not necessarily the amount of money that you need to survive each month in this country. And I'm fairly sure you could live well in a place like Gran Canaria without having to spend too much money each month. One here from David: hi Stuart, as always, many thanks for your updates. I live in the Comunidad Valenciana and fall within the 60 to 69 age group and have had both doses of Pfizer, so it looks like they've given up with AstraZeneca here. May have got some spelling a bit wrong here and there. Cheers, David. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment and no issues about the spelling. It's only when people insult me and misspell the word that I get worked up. And thanks for giving us that info about vaccines down there in Valencia. I'm not sure what the situation is when it comes to the controversial AstraZeneca. Every day in the paper I read different things. For example, here in Madrid I read early that they're starting to vaccinate people again with AstraZeneca in that 60 to 69 age group, but there in Valencia apparently they don't have enough doses of AstraZeneca. That's why they have switched to Pfizer most likely. And I don't know whether they're using AstraZeneca or not in other parts of the country for this age group. I think something like 90% of essential workers that had their first dose with AstraZeneca chose to have their second dose with that same vaccine. They didn't choose Pfizer even though the government was recommending it, so I imagine that that is also one of the reasons for shortages around the country. One here from Barry: there appears to be a lot of toxic and venomous comments here today, Stuart. I'm sure you'll ignore them. We depend on you for your unbiased 6 days a week input. Yeah, Barry, thanks for the comment. There were a few more toxic and venomous comments left on yesterday's video, more than I usually get, I think. There must have been something I said in yesterday's video that served as a trigger for some people, set them off. I don't know what it was, but somebody called me a communist. They also accused me of genocide, so I don't know what's going on, but I think a few people need to see a doctor. One here from Benjamin: can you not book your vaccine online? Here in Mallorca, I booked mine and got an appointment a week later, and my wife just booked hers this week as her age group was available. She got an appointment a couple of days later, today's Sunday. She had the Janssen vaccine, so only has to have 1 jab. Is it different in other regions? Can you not book online or phone for an appointment? Yeah, Benjamin, thanks for the comment. Things differ according to where you are in Spain. In Mallorca, as you said, you have no problems to book an appointment online. Here in Madrid, there's also no problems to do that. That's what I did in order to get my vaccine, and it's what my girlfriend did last week, and she's getting hers today. So I think it depends where you are. I went to the Valencian health website last week, and they didn't seem to offer that option. But I think online booking for vaccinations will start to become the norm as more vaccines become available and more age groups start to have access to the vaccines, especially the more tech-savvy younger generations. One here from Ol: it's easy to live in Spain for €1,000 a month. I live in Malaga and spend about 600 to 700. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I eat out 1 to 2 times a week. I work from home, so no transport. Yol, thanks for the comment, and there we go. It is possible to live in Spain on less than €1,000 a week, even 600 to 700, as mentioned there. Obviously it helps if you're not paying for smokes, alcohol or transport, but that quantity even allows eating out a couple of times a week. And I'm not sure what living situation you have down there in Malaga, whether you live alone, whether you share, whether you have your house already paid for, how much rent you pay per month, but all of those things are going to have an influence on what your monthly expenses are going to be. So thanks for the comment and thanks for giving us an idea of how much money you need to live in Malaga in the south of Spain. And finally, one here from Jose Antonio. There is an old Spanish joke about a guy who in a television contest won a trip to Australia and is spending years and years there trying to win another contest so that he can return to Spain. There are Spaniards who cannot leave Australia because of the COVID, and Australians like Stuart who cannot return home. It's lasting so long. Yeah, Jose Antonio, thanks for the comment and thanks for sharing that joke about a guy who wins a trip to Australia and then once in Australia tries to win another competition so that he can get back to Spain. And you're right, there are still a lot of people around the world that are trapped at the moment, can't return to their country of origin because of the restrictions, difficult to travel at the moment. Australia is one of those countries, very difficult to get back there at the moment and very difficult to get a flight. And I'm not sure if there are any updates on when Australia is going to open up again. There were some people saying that it wasn't going to be until next year, maybe the year after, because as we all know, one of the first things Australia did when this pandemic broke out was close the borders. And for people like me, not easy to get there at the moment, but what can I do? On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.